Welcome everyone, wonderful to see you all here. Wow, look at that. Welcome to Skyhawk Aviation and to our visiting astronaut, Dr. Proctor. Just a few quick words about being sensible in a hangar. Aeroplanes do have lots of pointy, sharp things, so do stay away from them. You're welcome to look at the aircraft, but do, as I say, be careful. There's lots of things that can damage an unsuspecting person. We will have the one aircraft behind us available for pictures a bit later, but then there'll be a separate safety briefing for that. The menial stuff, gents over here, the ladies is there behind the chips and the juice over there. And should we need to get out of this hangar in a rush, let's not rush. Let's move to the back of the hangar and out onto the apron, which is where our assembly point is, or through this door where some of you did come in. But as I say, there will be, should we need it, there will be an alarm that will let you know that there's some form of problem brewing. Beyond that, welcome again, and I think over to Dr. Proctor. Here we go.
Thank you, Captain Mike. Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What an honor to have Dr. Proctor here today, and to have you as the guest here today as well at our very first or second stream laboratory, and here with Skyhawk Aviation and Lanseria International Airport. As you can see behind us is a Boeing 737 aircraft. For those of you who are here for the first time, it is the one and only airplane in the world that has been converted into a classroom. Later on you'll be able to experience that, and then after the talk. So we are very excited to hear. We've got the honorary guest from SANSA here, very welcome. We've got some our sponsors here, but Shivar will introduce them. But I'll hand over you to Shivar, and I want you to enjoy this exciting day with us. And give yourselves a nice round of applause, because today is a very special day to you.
Hello, hello. It's just so incredible to see everyone here. So, my name is Shivar Raju, and I represent an organization called I Innovate. And what we do here is we create these incredible, transformative STEAM experiences where we can create the problem seers and problem solvers of tomorrow, you know, for STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and maths. I cannot forget the arts, otherwise Dr. Proctor is going to have it out for me. Can't forget that at all, but we do many experiments, from experiments that are taking part in the International Space Station right now, linking them to people such as all you kids here in South Africa. But, beyond that, I just want to thank our donors and sponsors before we get into it. This event would not be possible without people such as Fatima Yakut from Sakikamva, Steve Sherman and the incredible things he is doing with Living Maths, along with Tata Consultancy Services South Africa, and Skyhawk Aviation, of course, for letting us use this amazing venue and making it happen here in the aviation hangar. And also, I'd like to send a special thanks to Mahesh Pillai from the organization Grow for Good for being a significant donor for our Durban initiative, which is happening this week as well. I'm not going to take up your time anymore. To Dr. Proctor, please, go for it.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. How you doing today? Good to hear. It's a real pleasure to be here to share with you my Space to Inspire story and how my life radically changed a couple of years ago. But before I do that, first I want to ask a couple of questions. Who here would love to be a pilot and fly airplanes? Raise your hand if you'd love to be a pilot and fly airplanes. Okay, yeah, look at the hands around you, right? Now, who here would love to be an astronaut and go to space? Raise your hand if you want to go to space. Look at all the hands going up of all the people who want to go to space. Well, when I was your age, I wanted to be a pilot and an astronaut. And both of those dreams came true. My life radically changed in 2021, and here is a quick look how. Watch this video.
The day of launch, I'm going to be thinking about how my entire life has led up to this moment. I was born on the island of Guam, and the reason why I was born there is that my dad worked for the NASA tracking station. And so I feel like space has always been a part of me. When I got that call, that Zoom, and Jared was on there and he said that, they picked me for the prosperity seat, that I was going to go to space with him and be part of the Inspiration 4, it really was like getting the golden ticket for Willy Wonka. Everything in my life finally came into focus, and I realized that it was all about this moment in time. I won the prosperity seat for Inspiration 4, and I did that not as a geoscientist or an explorer or an analog astronaut, which are all on my resume. I actually won this as a poet and an artist. We are striving for that Star Trek generation, that idea of a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space, or a Jedi space. I'm gonna be the first Black female pilot of a spacecraft ever. And to me, that just blows me away. And I want to encourage the next generation to dream that this is possible. And a Jedi space, that's what that's about. I'm Dr. Sian Proctor, and I'm the mission pilot for Inspiration 4.
Woo, right? Wow. So imagine both of my childhood dreams coming together at the same time, becoming an astronaut and the pilot of the spaceship. And so how did I get there? How did this happen? Well, it starts with getting flight ready. And how do you get flight ready? Whether you're going to fly airplanes or become an astronaut or whatever purpose that you have for yourself, it starts with education. Now, in the video, it talked about how I was born on the island of Guam. The reason why I was born on the island of Guam was because my dad was working at the NASA tracking station during the Apollo missions. My dad and my mom, neither of them have college degrees. But my dad was what we called a hidden figure. He was really good at math, and he was able to get a job working at the NASA tracking station while they were putting the first humans onto the moon. And for those of you who are older individuals, I'm a moon celebration baby. I was born 8.5 months after Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the moon. Not sure if there's other celebration babies in the house, moon celebration babies in the house. And so I grew up with Neil Armstrong's autograph to my dad, along with all this other NASA memorabilia to him on his office walls. And that inspired me. But my dad and my mom always told me that the roadmap to opportunity is through education. And so what I did was I went off. Even though I wanted to be a pilot and an astronaut, as you grow up, those dreams sometimes are put onto the sidelines as you go off and you pursue other things that you really love. And so I went off and I became a geoscience professor. I got my environmental science undergrad, I got my master's in geology, and then I became Dr. Proctor. That photo on the left was taken the day that I graduated from Arizona State University with my doctorate. You got to celebrate every step of the way. But my dad also told me that learning doesn't stop after school. It continues. Your entire life should be about learning. And so when I was in your age, I decided that I was going to become an explorer. And I was going to explore the world around me. But at first I thought, wait, no, explorers are people who discover something new for humanity. There's no way I can be an explorer. What am I going to discover? But then I realized being an explorer isn't about discovering something new for humanity. That might happen, might not. Being an explorer is discovering something new for yourself every single day. So you know what that means? Everybody in here is an explorer because every day we're learning something new. And I can guarantee you that I'm going to teach you something new today that you didn't know. And so being here is a form of exploration. But you can notice after I got my degrees, I got myself scuba certified. I got my pilot's license. I wanted to always fly. So at 35 years old, I got my pilot's license flying a Cessna 172. And then I traveled and taught all over the world because, again, learning continues your entire life because you're getting flight ready for opportunity. And you never know when opportunity is going to appear. So for me and my life, things really got interesting during COVID when we went into a global lockdown. So those of you out here, 4 years ago, when we went into COVID, how many of you became a baker and started baking? Anybody? You were raising your hand. You're like, I did. Was it sourdough? Banana bread. Here it was banana bread. In the United States, it was sourdough. But banana bread. What about picking up a musical instrument? Did anybody learn a new musical instrument? Oh, right here. What did you learn? The trombone? Wow, well done. Yes. Out there. What did you learn? Say that again. I love the piano. That's fantastic. And here? The piano. The piano is beautiful. Now, you know what I did? I became a space artist and poet during COVID. I started doing space art and poetry during COVID. So that was in the summer of 2020. I started doing space art and poetry. Again, lifelong learning, stretching yourself, pushing the limits of what you know. And then in 2021, February of 2021, they announced the first all-civilian mission to space, and that they were giving away seats. You could win a seat to space. And I thought, whoa, this is amazing. So how do you win a seat to space? Well, there were two ways that they were giving away tickets to space. One is if you donated money to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, you could win the generosity seat. The second way was if you created a 2-minute video expressing why you should go to space. Imagine that. All of you that raised your hand and said that I would go to space, raise your hand again. Who would go to space? Now imagine somebody came along and said, I will give you a ticket to space if you can create a 2-minute video expressing why I should take you over that person. What would you say in that video? How would you express yourself? What would you want people to know about you that would make them pick you and not the person next to you? That was the situation I was in 2021. I had to come up with a video expressing who I am and what I stand for. So you know what I did? I wrote a poem. Because in 2020 I became a space artist and a poet. So instead of saying you should select me because I'm a space artist and a poet, instead of just saying that, I showed them that I'm a space artist and poet. And I wrote a poem. I wrote a poem called Space to Inspire. Would you like to hear it? Wait, would you like to hear it? Yes. Okay. This is the poem that won me a seat to space. You've got space. I've got space. We all have space to inspire. That's why we dream of going higher and higher. But what is space if you can't breathe? Let's stop sucking out the air of our humanity. We have a moment to seize the light. Earth from space, both day and night. We have J for justice, to ignite the bold. We have E for equity, to cut past the old. We have D for diversity, to end the fight. We have I for inclusion, to try to make it right. A Jedi space to rally behind, a universal force so big it binds. Inspiration to change the world, a new beginning for us to hold. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about space to inspire for all of humanity. Science, technology, engineering, and math, sending us out on the explorer's path. But don't forget the arts, the heartbeat of time. Consider sending a poet who knows how to rhyme. So let us drop the mic and close the capsule door, but please make sure Dr. Proctor is on board. My space to inspire is what we need inspiration for all of humanity. That is the poem that I wrote that won me a seat to space. Oh, sorry, it just went blank. So I had to shoot myself a video. I had to create a video of me reading that poem on Twitter and post it onto Twitter. And I must have shot that video like 50 times until I felt like it was just right. And I told myself that just posting the video and putting myself out there, I already won. By going for it and posting this video and sharing myself, that I had already won by creating that poem. But then I actually did win. I won Inspiration 4. So what is Inspiration 4? This is Inspiration 4.
Start of SpaceX was to get humanity to Mars. Try to make the dream of space accessible to anyone, and ultimately making science fiction not fiction forever.
What they're about to do will change the game entirely. 4 civilians are going to space. They will orbit the Earth for 3 days.
On their own.
You know, my dream of always wanting to go to space. I want to let you know that I got selected.
They start telling me about this all-civilian mission to space.
How many astronauts are going? And that's when she said, none. Diagnosed with bone cancer.
I haven't died and I'm not going to die. Having cancer made me who I am. My dream is to be a nurse. I'm getting to show them what their life can look like after cancer. If I can do it, you can definitely do it.
I went upstairs after the phone call though and told my wife, think I'm gonna ride a rocket? And she just, what?
I don't think I'll think about the worldly impact this mission is going to have until Chris is back on the ground. I'm like, why would they choose me? Look at that. But my dad had instilled this idea in me that I could do anything.
Commander of Inspiration 4. No matter what, I'm a father first, and that comes with a great deal of responsibility.
What is the speed?
25 times the speed of sound, or 17,500 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's getting real.
Mission to Space had to serve a bigger purpose, which is why it's a $200 million fundraising campaign for the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
There have been 3 Black female American astronauts who have made it to space. I will be number 4.
Start thinking about what could happen and the risks that are involved.
These people are you and me, and they will kick the doors open to space for the rest of us.
This is where we're going to live for 3 days.
Home sweet home.
Pretty incredible, right? The first all-civilian mission to orbit. And it was all because of Jared Isaacman, my commander. He's the tall one in the group of 4 of us. He is a very successful business person. And so he decided that he wanted to go to space. And he bought out a SpaceX Dragon capsule. And instead of picking his buddies or his family to go to space with him, he decided that he was going to give the seats away. And so the first thing that he did was reach out to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and said, I want to do the largest fundraiser in your history, a $200 million fundraiser to help end childhood cancer. Then he said, I would also like to fly a childhood cancer survivor. And that is my crew member, Hayley Arsenault, right there. When Hayley was 10 years old, she was diagnosed with bone cancer in her leg. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital saved her life. And as a result, she grew up and became a physician's assistant working at St. Jude. And then Chris Simbrowski won the generosity seat by donating to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And then, of course, I won the prosperity seat as an artist and a poet with my poem, Space to Inspire. We came together and trained for 6 months, about 6 months, and then we were prepared to launch the space in the SpaceX Dragon capsule. And what was neat about our SpaceX Dragon capsule on the right there, on the left there, is that at the top you'll notice that there's this dome, this bubble at the top of the rocket. The Dragon capsule is designed to go to the International Space Station and dock to the International Space Station. But we weren't going to the ISS. Instead, we were just going to orbit the Earth for 3 days. So SpaceX put a window, a cupola window, at the top of our Dragon capsule so that we could see the Earth from space. Kind of cool, huh? It's very cool. And I'm going to show you what it looks like from that capsule, from that window. And so we trained and we came together, and then it was the moment where we had to launch the space. Now, what I love about this screenshot is it's actually taken from the SpaceX live stream of our launch. And this is 14 minutes before taking off. You can see the countdown clock, T-minus 14 minutes. On the left is my commander, Jared Isaacman, as the commander of the spacecraft, very similar to aviation, where you have the captain sitting in the left seat. In the spaceship world, it is the commander who sits in the left seat, but both people are pilots. And then in your right seat in aviation is your first officer. In a spacecraft, it's the mission pilot. But both of us have the ability to control the spacecraft, and we work together. And so I'm in the right seat in that photo. And so you can imagine, those of you guys that wanted to go to space, you can imagine you're right now on top of a Falcon 9 rocket in a Dragon capsule, and it's counting down to 0. And you're about to leave the Earth and go to space for the first time. And most people ask me at this moment in time, was I afraid? Was I afraid to go? And you know what I tell them? No. I was ready. I was ready to go. So imagine you're sitting there on the top of this rocket as it slowly comes to life. And you feel all the power and thrust as you begin to leave the Earth. And everyone you know and love is there watching as your childhood dream of going to space is becoming real.
It has been an absolute honor to prepare you for this historic flight. Today, you are truly inspiring the world. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
We launched just after sunset from Kennedy Space Center, historic launch pad 39A, where they launched the Apollo astronauts to the moon. As our Falcon 9 rocket started to lift off the pad, it turned the night sky into day. Imagine the fuel of the rocket taking off and the thrust pulling you back into your seat as you go on a journey of a lifetime. Our launch was the most beautiful launch they had ever seen in their life. And then 10 minutes later, you're in space. 10 minutes. That's all it takes. How long did it take you to get here? Yeah, you would already be orbiting the Earth. Yeah, you would already orbit the Earth once in that amount of time. So 10 minutes later, you're in space. Now, you remember that giant window at the top of our spacecraft? That cupola? This is one of my favorite moments from my space flight, because it's the moment that we're going to open up the forward hatch and be able to see through that window at Earth for the first time. Now, you're not going to see me in this video because I'm the one filming. I knew it was going to be a historic moment, so I'm filming. But what you're going to see is my crew member, Hayley. I want you to watch her face. She has a job to do. She's going to start pulling out this white ribbon, and her job is to protect the forward hatch from being damaged. But there's going to be a moment, and remember, she's floating in space, and the ribbon is coming out, and it's floating with her, and she's going to look up, and she's going to look through the window and see the Earth for the first time. Watch the expression on her face. You'll also notice in the video somewhere is our 0G indicator. Whenever you go to space, you bring a stuffed animal, and that's your 0G indicator to show that you're floating in space. So keep an eye out for our 0G indicator. Look at that view and that expression on Hayley's face. Now imagine you're in space and you get to floating up into our cupola. And you start to realize that there is the Earth, brilliantly beautiful planet Earth against the darkness of space. And as you swirl around, as you float, you can see the curvature of the Earth and all of the beauty that is our planet. stunningly beautiful and bright is planet Earth. And you know what you do? You start to look around. As you're traveling 17,500 miles per hour, 17,500 miles per hour is orbital velocity. And what that means is that to create one orbit around the Earth, you do it in 90 minutes. In 90 minutes, you can complete one orbit around the Earth. So now think about this. If you go around the Earth one time, that means you're not only going to be in the lit side of the Earth, you're going to go through the dark side of the Earth. So every 45 minutes, you're either going into a sunrise or a sunset. Every 45 minutes. And you start looking around for familiar features like continents. On the left-hand side is one of the continents. Does anybody know which continent is on the left-hand side there? It has a curve to it. Just shout it out. South America. South America. We've got Chile on the west side with the Andes Mountains, and then Argentina. And so the band of clouds that's going through the middle there, that is the Andes Mountains. And then Argentina is on the right side of that. And then the big, big dark brown continent that's in the right photo. Anybody from down under? Australia. Yes, Australia from space. And so you start seeing these beautiful land masses surrounded by the water and the clouds. And then you go into the dark side. And you realize that you can see the lights of humanity. Those orange-colored lights, those are city lights. That's what we built, the built environment of the human race. And you can pick out cities because of those lights. And over here, you can't see it, I don't think on my clicker, but that is actually North America with the Great Lakes and Chicago. That big, brightest light mass is Chicago, sitting right on the edge of the Great Lakes. But then to the lower right, there's this giant storm. And you can see here, this is a massive thunderstorm that's coming across the United States. And those white spots are lightning, the top of the clouds. And you can see how from the space, you see these white dots going bam, 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 bam. That's lightning happening at the top of the clouds in this massive thunderstorm. And then you look out off to the side and you notice the stars, that left-hand figure there. The Earth is actually at the top. It's during the dark side, so you can't see that. And then below that is all the star field. And my favorite constellation is there. It's not as bright for those of you in the back, but there is a famous constellation that you can see. Does anybody recognize that? No, not the North. Close. What constellation has 3 stars in its belt? No, not the 3 sisters, but I like it. Oh, it has the Horsehead Nebula in it. Starts with an O. Not Leo the Lion. O-R. Say it louder. Orion. Orion. Orion is right here. There's Orion. There is the constellation Orion from space. And then eating. Who wants to eat in space? Because it's a lot of fun. A lot of times people ask us, what did we eat in space? We had all kinds of good food in space. But here, watch on the right-hand side. Skittles. Do you guys like Skittles? Do you want to see what it's like to eat a Skittle in space? Okay, watch this. I want to know. That's how you eat a Skittle in space. Did you see it? Wait, let's watch it one more time.
I don't know.
Because everything floats. Your food floats. So you can have your food floating around and be like a Pac-Man and go and eat it. And then, of course, we're doing a lot of medical research because we're there to help advance human spaceflight. So Hayley has the butterfly ultrasound up against her eyeball because when you go to space, all of the fluids in your body shift, and even the fluids in your eyeballs shift around a little bit. And so we're using this equipment with our iPads and our iPhones to look at our eyeballs, to look at our interjugular veins, and to look at our bladders, just to do medical research. And then on the right-hand side in that photo is me doing an experiment, a medical experiment. And then you remember my dad, and my dad got Neil Armstrong's autograph. Unfortunately, both of my parents passed away before I went to space, so they didn't get to see me achieve that childhood dream. But I got to bring the Neil Armstrong autograph that my dad got way back when I was born in 1969. And that got to float in space with me. And then you know what else I got to do as an artist and a poet? I got to paint in space. I drew and painted that watercolor that you see there, all while on orbit. Was it hard to paint in space? Save that question for later and we'll answer that. It's easier than you think. It was easier than I thought it would be. So I got to paint in space, but I can tell you, the best part is going to space with your friends, your crewmates, having fun with them. You've trained for 6 months together, and now you're off on this amazing adventure. And so going to space with them was the best part of my mission. And I was the oldest person on our mission. Out of the crew, I was the oldest, and Hayley was the youngest. But we got along really well. We got along so well that we've traveled together to many different places since coming back from space. And so you crew members.
So this is our last time in the cupola.
Yep, and I don't want to cry because the Earth is so beautiful.
Turn it down just a little bit. I think there's a resonance there.
It's been a real pleasure to go to space with you.
There's a feedback, I think.
Just like getting to see something that so few people get to see. We're just so lucky.
Make me cry.
All right, so, but it was amazing to be able to have that experience with my crew members. Now, you know, when I was talking about being an explorer earlier, and I was saying how, as an explorer, it's about learning something new for yourself, right? That's what explorers do. They go out and they explore their world, and they learn new things that they didn't know before. Before I went to space, I didn't know a term. And then when I was up there, I learned this term when I was in space. So before space, this was not part of my vocabulary. And it wasn't until I got to space and took this ultimate selfie that I discovered a new term for myself. Do you know what it is? Earth light. Earth light. Have you heard of Earth light before? No, neither had I. Think about this. We learn about sunlight, we learn about moonlight, but we never learn about Earth light. And Earth light's the best light there is. And so when you look at this photo, all of the light on my face is Earth light. The light coming off of our beautiful planet. When you're in low Earth orbit, you get bathed in Earth light. And it is so beautiful. Think about this. How many of you like the moon? Raise your hand if you like the moon. Imagine walking outside and there's a full moon rising. Full moon rising. And you're walking in moonlight. How does that make you feel when you go outside and you're walking in moonlight and you see a full moon rising? Now, imagine you're in low Earth orbit and you're getting bathed in Earth light, and how that would make you feel. Everybody says that I don't look my age. I'm 54 years old. Do I? Oh, what? Now, come on now. No, yeah, right? Why do it? It's Earth light. Earth light. Everybody needs to go to space and get a little Earth light. Earth light is the most beautiful light there is. But the thing about it is you don't have to go to space to experience Earth light. You know why? Because Earth light is all around you every single day. We live in a world of reflected light. And the colors that you see of our beautiful planet, that is the Earth taking sunlight and transforming it into Earth light. It transforms sunlight into Earth light by absorbing it, scattering it, reflecting it, changing its properties. And the only reason why life exists on Earth is because the Earth has stripped away most of the harmful radiation associated with sunlight. The Earth transforms sunlight into Earth light, and Earth light is life. So when you walk outside, you don't say that's beautiful sunny day, that's a beautiful Earth light day, because that is the power of our planet to transform the world around us. So I discovered something new for myself by going to space. I discovered Earth light. And I was so mesmerized by Earth light that I told myself, oh my goodness, I have to bring Earth light down to Earth. And I did something I never thought I would do. I wrote a science book. I just published it last month. I wrote a science book called Earth Light. And this is the power of opportunity. When you take advantage of opportunities and you push yourself and you become an explorer, you open yourself up to new opportunities, opportunities you never even imagined. When you step through one door, there's many more doors that are going to open up for you as a result of that experience. And this is why lifelong learning matters. The more you learn, the more you have opportunities. The more you learn, the more you have opportunities. Opportunities that change your life in ways you can never, ever imagine. If you would have told me when I was their age that I was going to win a seat to space as an artist and a poet, I would have been like, there's no way that's going to happen. But I was open to learning, to changing, to expanding my world. And as a result of that, I'm standing in front of you as the first black woman to pilot a spaceship, the first black person to paint in space. Then, after 3 days, you have to come home. And you're like, oh, do I have to come home? Because there's nothing better than floating. You have to come home. And so we splashed down. I was in that capsule right there. We splashed down into the Atlantic Ocean just off the coast of Florida after 3 days in space. And I remember, at the end I'll answer questions. No, it wasn't bad at all because it was like being in a car, temperature controlled. Yeah. And we splashed down and I could feel it. I felt my phoenix rising moment. Or for the audience out here, my Michelle Obama becoming moment. Because when we splashed down, y'all watching the Olympics? When we splashed down and hit the water, that's when we won the gold medal, right? Because we had successfully completed our mission as the first all-civilian mission to orbit. And when we splashed down and bobbed back up, I could feel it. At that moment, I had officially become the first black woman to pilot a spacecraft. And I did it successfully. And when you do things like that, they can't take it away from you. They can't take it away from you. You did it. And when you do things like that, you have to celebrate. You have to celebrate those wins. So they brought our spacecraft onto the back of the boat, and our flight doctor said, "Are you okay?" When you're sitting in your seat, the flight doctor comes in and checks on you before you get out of the spacecraft. And he asks you, "Are you okay? Can you walk?" Because you're in space, you start to lose bone density. And you might be a little dehydrated. And you might be a little wobbly. And I told the flight surgeon, I said, "Nuh-uh, we're live streaming this. People around the world are watching." I go, "I got this. I got this." And so when you come off of your spacecraft, after you've gone to space, remember to celebrate. You should be dancing, right? Coming off, dancing, having your jam. Like, look, be like, "Hey," you know? Cameras there. We're live streaming, live to the world. Got to own it and celebrate. And of course, letting your earth light shine. But with great opportunity comes great responsibility, and being able to recognize your family tree. Those that have trailblazed the way for you so that you can be successful. Dr. Mae Jemison, first African-American woman to go to space. Followed by Joan Higginbotham and Stephanie Wilson. And realizing that I'm the fourth Black woman to go to space. And now I might be the first Black woman to pilot a spaceship, but I won't be the last. And those of you that raised your hand and said, "I wouldn't mind being a pilot, I wouldn't mind being an astronaut," well, now you can be both. It might be one of you that is the next Black woman to pilot a spaceship. But now it goes beyond Mae Jemison. My legacy goes back to Bessie Coleman. Any aviators in the house that know who Bessie is? Queen Bessie, Bessie Coleman. Raise your hand if you've heard of Bessie Coleman. Oh, right back there, you're like, "I got this. I know Bessie." Bessie Coleman was the first Black woman, African-American woman, to get her pilot's license. She did this in 1921. Think about America in 1921. Segregation. She couldn't do it in the United States. Bessie doesn't even have a high school diploma. Living in segregation, poor, Black, United States, racist. But she was determined. She had a dream. She had a vision. So she taught herself French. Does not have a high school degree. Didn't graduate from high school. She taught herself French and then went to France and earned her pilot's license. And then 100 years later, exactly from 1921 to 2021, I became the first Black woman to pilot a spaceship. I owe my legacy and my lineage to those who came before me and were brave enough to break the glass ceiling, starting with Bessie Coleman. And I am so fortunate to say Bessie Coleman is in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum because she was a trailblazer. My spacesuit is going to be joining her at the Air and Space Museum as a trailblazer. And why this matters is that we're trying to create that Jedi space, that just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity. Jedi space is not about outer space, it's about this space, the space that we live in. How do we create a Jedi space for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, for our schools, for our work environment, for the world, and then beyond? We want Jedi space here. And then why? Why do we do this? Why? Because we're going back to the moon. And then we're going on to Mars. And if we're going to go to the moon and then on to Mars, we want to make sure all of humanity goes with us. Only 12 people have walked on the moon, and they were all white males. But we're going back, and we're going to put the first female footsteps on the moon. And we're going to put the first person of color's footprints on the moon. And you know what I say to that? I say, that could be all in one person. Just send a black woman. Send a black woman and we'll check both those boxes. But the point is we're going back. And we're going to make these changes. And it's important that we push people, the people who have the power and make the decisions, to strive for that Jedi space so that we all have an opportunity to go. And we all have an opportunity to participate in all that's coming down the pipeline. And we do this because everything's changing. One thing that you might know is that when you thought about NASA and you thought about going to space and you thought about the European Space Agency, you think that the old way of going to space is exclusive and limited. You might think, oh, that will never happen to me. There's no way that I could ever make it into space. But that's not the right kind of way to think now. Space has changed. There's a new way to think about space, and that's inclusive and complementary. Did you know that the youngest person has already flown to space and that person was 18 years old? Did you know that the oldest person just went to space a month ago, and it was a black male, 91 years old. 91, he went to space. His name is Ed Dwight. Ed Dwight was the first African-American male selected under John F. Kennedy to become an astronaut back in the early 60s. John F. Kennedy's assassination derailed it because of racism in the United States. When John F. Kennedy, because John F. Kennedy had picked him to be the first black astronaut. His assassination, the people who took over in power said, that's not happening. Ed Dwight lost his chance to go to space and to be the first. But history has a way of coming back. And he flew to space just a month ago at 91 years old. We flew the first mother-daughter duo. Did you know that the first mother-daughter duo to go to space was out of the Caribbean? And it's a black woman and her daughter. A black woman and her daughter out of the Caribbean went together. The first Egyptian woman and the first woman from the continent of Africa flew to space last year. Sarah Sabre. She won a contest to space just like I did. It is amazing the amount of opportunity that's coming down the pipeline that's going to be available to you if you want it. Your job is to get flight ready. And how do you get flight ready? Through education. And why do we do this? We do it all because when we solve for space, we solve for Earth. There's no better, I'm a geoscientist, I can tell you there's no better planet than planet Earth. But as we go to the moon and Mars and beyond, we're solving actually for planet Earth. Think about this. In order for us to live on the moon and stay on the moon, we're going to have to develop new technologies. We don't know how to do that. We've never done it. We've gone to the moon and back, but we've never stayed on the moon for a long time. How do you create a moon base that is successful? Think about all the technology that we need to develop and create now in order for that to happen. In order to go to the moon, we have to be efficient in food, water, energy, resource management, and waste management. What do we have problems with here on Earth? Food, water, energy, resource management, waste management. All of the technology, as we figure out, remember, we got to figure this out. As we figure out what's the best energy system for the moon, What's the best water cycling system for the moon? How are we going to get water? Right? How are we going to build the habitat and protect astronauts from radiation? How are we going to feed people on the moon? As we figure out these complex problems, we're solving those problems here on Earth with smart people like you figuring it out. And as we solve that problem, that technology gets spun off and used here on Earth so that we can be more sustainable. And that's why we need to continue to advance human spaceflight, because as we push humanity out there, we're actually making ourselves more sustainable here on Earth. My motto is space to inspire. That's why I wrote that poem, Space to Inspire, that won me a seat to space. But when I'm talking about space to inspire, I'm not talking about outer space. Think about what I'm saying. When I'm talking about space to inspire, I'm not talking about outer space. You know what space I'm talking about? I'm talking about this space. The space that makes you, you. The space around you. There's only ever going to be one of you. And your space matters. What you do with your space matters. The things you do, the things you say, how you interact with other people, it matters. And so when you think about how you're going to use your space, think about how you can use it to inspire yourself and those around you. Use your space to inspire yourself and those around you. And as you're doing it, make it a Jedi space, a just, equitable, diverse, and inclusive space for all of humanity. And in the process, remember to always let your earth light shine. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Proctor. So are you all inspired right now? Now come on, how inspired are you? Are you inspired? And I think what will add to more inspiration is if we take some questions, I think. How does that sound? Come on, I'm sure you have some burning questions for Dr. Proctor, something exciting, anything on your mind. There's the first hand up, and I'm going to bring it right to you then.
Sir, your question about painting in space.
But when you were painting in space, wasn't it hard, like, since everything was flying, wasn't the paintbrush flying, wasn't the paint flying, wasn't your water to change the color flying?
See, you right there, you're definitely you're a thinker, because you're like, this has got to be complicated. You're absolutely right. So SpaceX worked with me to actually create a case where everything was contained and was Velcroed. So I had everything Velcroed in, including my paper on a clipboard, and then this is the key, because how do you do a watercolor without water, right? You need water. And if you put water out, it's going to float away from you. So, you know what exists now? You can go to a paint store, an art store supply, and you can find paint brushes that you can pre-fill with water. Think about this, a paintbrush that you can fill with water. And so the water is already contained in the brush itself. And so when you squeeze the paintbrush, the water comes out onto the bristles. And then surface tension holds it to the bristles. And then because of that surface tension holding it, that water to the bristles, you can now swirl that water into your watercolor paint that's Velcroed to hold it down. You can swirl it in, and then your canvas, which is also Velcroed down, you can paint onto your canvas. So nothing floats away. But the issue is this. As this is stuck here, and this is here, and you have your water coming out of your paintbrush, And surface tension is holding it all down. The problem is with equal and opposite force. As you push onto the canvas, you get pushed back. And because you're floating, you're constantly bobbing and weaving yourself because of the energy going back and forth. So the hardest part is keeping yourself still. Yes, and if you want to see me actually paint in space, you can go to my YouTube channel. Just put in Sian Proctor, my name, painting in space. And there's a whole video of me painting that watercolor in space.
Someone was the first to put their hand up here. Who was it? It was you.
What's the largest spacecraft to be built?
What's the largest spacecraft we've ever built? Well, right now, that would be Starship. So Starship by SpaceX is the largest rocket and spaceship ever built. But humans haven't flown on it yet. It's still in its test phase. But let me tell you, it's awesome. I've seen it launch twice. And it was like, whoa. Okay, in my spacecraft, we had 4 people that fit in it. Starship, they could pack 100 people in it. It's massive. And that's coming down the pipeline. And you know what? When you have the largest rocket that's going to go to space, you need a lot of people. That's why there's going to be a lot of opportunity.
Shall we bring it, no one up here? Shall we bring it up here for a bit?
Sure, and I'll be back here. So
Lovely.
You go back there. And while we're waiting, I'll go to you.
How do you go to the bathroom in space?
Oh, that's the most complicated thing you could do. Does it sound like fun to go to the bathroom in space?
I don't know.
You know what you need to go to the bathroom in space? Suction. Lots of suction, right? Because water floats. And so you need, just like a vacuum cleaner, a vacuum, you got to suck it away. Yes, that's how you go to the bathroom in space. Yeah.
There's one here. Yeah.
So basically, what did you eat in space?
What would you want to eat in space? Wait, let me hear that.
All the candies and chocolates.
Oh, all the candies and chocolates. Anybody else, what would you want to eat in space? Someone said pizza. What else? What would you want us to eat in space? Burgers, French fries. Okay. The key, okay, this is the thing. In space, you don't want what we call hangry astronauts. Hungry astronauts, they become hangry, right? Because they're angry because they want food. So you want to make sure that you eat food that you like and enjoy. So SpaceX asked me, what do I want to eat in space? And you know what I said? I said, I want to eat my favorite food. And they said, well, what's your favorite food? And I said, pizza. I ate pizza in space. I also ate a BLT, which was delicious. I had olives, I had cheese, we had M&Ms, we had Skittles, we had bacon. Yeah, it was delicious.
Here's another one.
Yes.
How did you guys sleep in space?
Oh, sleeping is awesome because you get to float. Okay, imagine. We were up there for 3 days, so every night we had to sleep. Not one night did I ever think about needing a pillow. Imagine going to sleep and not even thinking about needing a pillow. Because you're floating, you can be in any orientation, there's no weight on you. So your head doesn't move, it stays wherever your head is, it stays there. You feel no weight on it. And so in order to sleep in space, because everything floats, we would tie our sleeping bags, we would tether them to our chairs, our spacecraft chairs, and then we would float into our sleeping bags. And then we would just go to sleep. And I can tell you, I slept well in space, but I don't remember my dreams. And normally, I'm a person who remembers their dreams. And the reason why I didn't remember my dreams is because every time I woke up, I had spatial disorientation. You know when you travel and you wake up and you're like, where am I? Now imagine waking up and being like, what is this? You're floating in space and your brain's like, wait, what? So I don't remember my dreams, but I definitely enjoy sleeping in space. I highly recommend it, along with a little Earth light, some pizza.
Let's get one in the front.
Let me go up front here.
What is the training like?
Okay, imagine doing all of the fun things you've always wanted to do. That's the training. So I got to fly in fighter jets. So I got to fly in a MiG-29, amazing plane. So I did fighter jet training. And then we hiked Mount Rainier, although that almost killed me because that was really tough to do. But that's part of the training, is to push your boundaries. The reason why we hiked Mount Rainier was because it was for crew cohesion, to push you to the limits and have you rely on your crew. We did centrifuge training where they spun us up. And sometimes you get sick when you get centrifuge training. But it's so you get the G forces, you can feel what the G's are like. And then we did hyperbaric chamber, where it's in case you have a depressurization, you know what it feels like. So we did all kinds of fun, really cool training. I really enjoyed it. But you know what we did the most training of? Going to SpaceX's headquarters in Hawthorne, California, and doing simulators, just like they do here, where they have simulators. See that? For the Boeing? Is that? Yeah. For the aircraft, we have simulators just like that for the spaceship. And me and my commander spent many, many hours in the simulation going through emergencies and contingencies. Because you got to be well trained and ready to take on anything. Good question.
Have you ever tried giving up on your dream?
Have I ever tried giving up on my dream? That's a good question. I never gave up hope. But my dream definitely got put to the sidelines multiple times. First off, I wanted to be a military aviator. Back in the 80s, you couldn't be a military aviator if you wore glasses. I got glasses when I was 14 years old. So I knew I was never going to be a military aviator. And I always thought that if I couldn't be a military aviator, there was no way I could be an astronaut. But I went off and I started living the life of an explorer. And then, you know, things change. As times changes, more access opens up. And then, you know, I was almost a NASA astronaut. I got down to the yes-no phone call. And it was a heartbreaking no. And I could have easily given up on my dreams. But instead, I was like, oh, okay, I'll be an analog astronaut, and I'll live in Moon and Mars simulations. So I switched and pivoted. And then those dreams come back if you don't give up hope. And I never gave up hope. And so when they announced the first all-civilian mission to orbit, I didn't know I was going to win. But you can't win if you don't try. Had to put myself out there. And now, look at where I am. I'm here, sharing my space story with all of you.
How do you guys even bath when the water floats?
Wait, say it again?
How do you guys even take a bath?
So, how do you take a bath when everything floats? Well, there's this new invention called wet wipes. Look, you look disappointed. You're like, aw, look at that. Wet wipes. They're amazing.
Let's get from the side there as well.
What do you think of flat earthers?
I think flat earthers need more education. I think we should just, when Starship is ready, we round them up and send them all to space. How about that? There is no reason why anybody should believe the Earth is flat. Mathematics proved that a long time ago. But yes.
Here we go.
What was your favorite country to teach in?
Ooh, well, that's really interesting. Every place that I've been, okay, you know what you do? You set goals for yourself. You know what one of my biggest goals was when I was your age? I told myself that I was going to do 50 by 50 by 50. What does that mean? It means that I was going to go to all 50 states in the U.S., I was going to visit every 50 state, and I was going to go to 50 countries by the time I turned 50. Setting goals, right? So 50 by 50 by 50. So I've been to almost 60 countries now. So when you think about where's my favorite place in the world that I've taught, I've been to so many places, and every place that I've been has been special for some reason. I taught in China for a month at Wuyi University. Transformative experience for me. Loved it. I taught in Australia. Kangaroos. Awesome. So I've been to I've been to Easter Island. I've been to a lot of really cool places. And now here I am in South Africa. I've always wanted to come here. And the funny thing is this. They told me, my favorite city in the world is New York. New York, hands down. I love New York. We'll always love New York. But the prettiest city that I've ever been to right now is Sydney. Sydney, Australia. But everybody that has been to Cape Town told me, once you go to Cape Town, that will be your favorite, prettiest city. So I'm super excited about going there. But these moments, I consider this to be teaching moments in places that I've been. And I can tell you, this is the first time teaching in a hangar and sharing my space story. So this is a very special moment for me right now. I'm going to go over here because 2 more questions. I don't know, you got to come over here because of, one of you come over here because the speaker, you got to come over here. Come on up. Okay, so we'll go with you first. Thinking about it. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about what's the best question to answer. Okay, here you go. That's not a worries. That happens to me all the time.
So how do you drink water in space? Is there a special mechanism for it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Water float, it will form a bubble and float, right? So you've got to have a way. One of the best ways is if you have a water, how you have pouches that are juice pouches that you can drink out of, where you squeeze and then the water comes through a straw. It's like that. So we had water bottles that you squeezed and then you sucked the water out so that it didn't float all around. But if you wanted to have fun, you would squeeze a little bit of water out into a ball and then suck it up as it's floating. That's fun. Come on over.
How do you keep yourself from being bored?
That is awesome. That's such a good question. Thank you for asking that. Well, one of the biggest issues when we go back to the moon and Mars, you would think how is that not exciting? But boredom is one of the issues you have to deal with because of repetition, of doing the same thing again and again and again. And so the way that you get through boredom is giving yourself little challenges, little things that you want to do or learn. And so when you go up to space, you look for me, I thought about okay, I want to write a poem today, And so I'd write a poem about something. Little things that keep your creativity going and makes you, express yourself is how you can get through boredom. And so finding little things that you can do when you're feeling bored that make you feel good. So I painted in space. I wrote poetry in space. Those are the kinds of things. Good question.
We're not doing a Kahoot. All right. I think that I don't have to speak for myself, but I know for all of you that have had the opportunity to listen to Dr. Sian Proctor, she really is a gifted speaker. And how many of you felt the emotions of overjoy and emotions of excitement when she was told that she was going to go to space? How many of you actually felt that with her? It is an incredible, incredible thing that when you are listening to a speaker and they take you emotionally on that journey with you, it's a memorable, memorable talk. So I think we should just give her one more round of applause, please. Okay, I've just been given the go-ahead. We have 3 prizes to give away. The first prize is a Boeing 737, what do they call them, flight tags?
Yeah, remove before flight. If you, my bag, I have a bunch of them on them, so this is always fun to have.
Have you got one on your bag? Let's have a look.
So look at how many I have on my NASA bag.
I have a small confession. I have a few. I had NASA and SpaceX, and people followed the instruction, remove before flight, and I didn't get them back afterwards. So these things, look after them. The second prize we have is a miniature model of a 737 MAX, a beautiful little model of the aeroplane, and of course, a 1/400th scale model of a 787 Dreamliner. So we have 3 people, and I thought what we should do is ask 3 questions, and the people who get the first question right will get that prize, then this prize, and then we'll do a final prize. All right. The first question, you have to listen very carefully. In 1969, 3 astronauts traveled to the moon. 2 of them landed on the moon to walk around, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. They did place a flag on the moon. I would like to know, what color is the flag? If you're to go right now to the moon, what color would the flag be? I see a hand up over here. What color? The American flag is not correct. That's not the color. Let's choose, yes, what color? Red, white, and blue is also not correct. Keep going, keep going. We're moving around. Yes, what color? White. I'm afraid that is absolutely correct. Over here. Oh, can we get a photograph of you 2 together over here? Want to just stand over there for a quick photo? Brilliant. And the reason it is white is because obviously it's bleached by the sun. If you leave your colored stuff hanging on the washing line for too long, it will eventually turn white. The next question is for this beautiful 737. Who could tell me where Dr. Proctor was born? Do you want to pick someone? You want to go to the cheap seats at the back? We can have a look. We're coming around. We're having a look. Shiv, oh, you got one? Yes? Where was she born?
Where was I born?
Oh, not California, no. Oh, where? Where?
Guam.
Guam is absolutely correct. You can get a photograph over there. Oh, and I think we're going to have to work hard on this one. This one, I'm thinking, oh, this is a good one. Okay. In what year did Michael Collins walk on the moon? Oh, if you think you know, put up your hand. We're coming. Oh, the hands are going up over here. We're moving around. What year did Michael Collins walk on the moon? What year was it? 1962 is not correct. Yes. 1964, not correct. Yes. 96, no. Yes. 1969, no. 1972 is also not correct. No. Yes. Sorry? We have a correct answer. He did not walk on the moon. So I'm going to hand that over to you. You can go round that way. I'll coordinate. Okay, we'll just get the photos. Well, that was a tough question. Okay, well done. For those of you who do not know, Michael Collins was a very important part of the moon landing. He flew the actual rocket around the moon while Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong walked to the moon, and then they flew the little moon lander and connected with the command module, and they came back to Earth. But he did play a very important role. Now, I know that this is a very exciting moment, and we certainly want to capture the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the teachers for each group, if you can get your whole group together, we're going to ask you to try and do all the assembling on that side, and then each group will come along here where the stage is, and you will get a photograph with Dr. Proctor.